Hey all, Pay Marine here with another attempt at a Coherent Thought update. I don't even know what category to put this in my little playlist of videos because it's kind of a follow-up, but also going to be a rant or whatever. But I kind of saw the writing on the wall with this one, unfortunately. So it's been going around. There's been a few other people making videos and stuff that Games Workshop has updated their IP guidelines. This happened sometime in between the beginning of July to around like the 15th or so, I guess. And it's to wonder kind of some of what brought it up, but also like I had said in my previous video about Games Workshop essentially going out and culling or poaching or whatever you want to say, all the animators online that have made animations in regards to 40K. And my worry was that what we've seen with some is they take the deal and they go work for Games Workshop. All their stuff gets taken down and it will be on Warhammer Plus when the time comes. I only know one person so far right now. Sorry. Right now that has denied the deal, and they were told they have to demonetize all of their stuff and take down any Patreon related to it. And then because of that, I was like, well, when is it going to come that they're just going to be like, cut everything out? Like, you can't have anything. Well, the time is now. And it'll be interesting to see like what exactly that means for the individual that already said that they weren't going to take the deal and that they were told to demonetize their stuff, because now it's kind of like, in a way, they're like, okay, well, I can still make animations and it'll be fine. I just can't make any money on it. That's not the point of it. I just enjoy making animations related to 40K. But now that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And we're going to jump into this. I'm going to go through line by line. I'm going to read the new guidelines and as well as give my kind of thoughts on all that. Many that may know or may not know, my Facebook page and the beginning of my channel, which is still very, very small in the grand scheme of things out there. But when I only had somewhere around like 700 to 800 followers on Facebook, and then the channel here only had maybe 80 subs, maybe. And this has been, 2000, I want to say 2017, when I got my cease and desist, because originally my channel and Facebook was called the Tech Marine. And that was because I just wanted to have a separate hobby place from my other social media to share, like, my hobby progress, my tips and tricks that I have, and just my thoughts and opinions on stuff within the hobby. So I created the page and then a later YouTube channel, and it was under the moniker or whatever, the Tech Marine, and I had just gotten a generic picture of a Tech Marine, and that's what I used. And the reason why I went with Tech Marine is because I really like the more technical aspects of the hobby, as in like the different conversions and adding electronics and lights, sounds, motorization, that kind of stuff to models. So that's where I decided, I'll go with Tech Marine. That's kind of like what they do. That's cool, and it's hobby related. Well, I got a thing, and I posted it on my original page. Because I had to make a new page, Facebook, and it's weird too because I still technically have that other page with all the followers there, and I've applied back in 2017 to change the name of that page so I wouldn't lose all the people that I had on there, and Facebook never responded, and I've applied multiple times, and they still have not allowed the change, and there's another way. So then I had to make a new page, and you can also try to merge them, but they won't merge them because they're saying that the names are different. It's like, okay, but I own them both. I want to just merge over so that any followers that didn't come over will come back. And I don't know, but that was so long ago now, like it's kind of pointless. And to the point I can't even, like, I've been trying to delete the page too, and it's still not really, I don't know. But anyway, I announced on there and I showed the email that I got, and invited people to come over to the new page, and I was able to change the YouTube thing, no problem. Yeah, so I mean, on my smallest of levels, I experienced this sort of back in 2017, but now we're starting to see more and more overreach. And to part of it, I think, is kind of our culture in general has really become a society of just this cancel culture, for various reasons, whatever they may be, that somebody wants to cancel something or whatever. But now we're starting to see more and more, like that used to be kind of like the weapon of the little man, right? The little person fighting against those that be the power. But it's getting turned now. And these corporations and businesses are using their basically their corporate resources, their legal and financial footing, higher ground, if you will, to then push these voices down and to control the narrative of their business. So you know, those of us that come on to these channels, and we're not as I would say, a Games Workshop apologist. We don't try to defend them at every turn, and we voice things we like and dislike. You could potentially start seeing a crackdown on that, because like if we're using anything that could somehow give them a door in, and for them to be able to, like, this hurts our brand, we don't like that, so we need to silence this these people or persons. And I feel like that's the next step that we're coming to right now, and we'll dive into that. But I think initially, anybody that's been really negative and stuff, and been very critical of a lot of things they've done, may start to see a crackdown on their platforms. I think bigger channels that have been mostly positive and promote the brand more won't really be touched until they potentially start stepping out of line. And even then, I don't think they'll be outright like canceled or told to shut down, but I think it'll be kind of like warnings or suggestions kind of a thing, like, oh, hey, we saw your recent thing. We would appreciate it if you took it down, or if you did this or that. And if you don't basically comply to their suggestions, then I think that from there it'll start ramping up to eventually, like, if you keep giving them enough pushback, they're just gonna be like, fine, whatever, you need to shut down, cancel, board up your doors, whatever. Which is really unfortunate. Another thing too that we'll get into is it also talks about like other like mediums of art, such as like the background I have before me or behind me, the background I've had in other videos, just art in general. Because for me, I'm just making a personal like custom codex based on my homebrew chapter, a codex supplement, whatever you want to call it, just something fun for me to have. So I've commissioned a bunch of various different artists out there to work on different types of scenes or character designs or whatever. And it seems like that might even be a thing of the past, which is really unfortunate, because there's a lot of great talented artists out there, but now it sounds like they're not going to be able to make, I mean, and at the very least, the way that part's worded is like they can still make artwork, but they can't make any money off of it. So that means like they can make personal art, but like if I was to come to them and be like, I cannot make this awesome artwork scene that you see behind me, so I contact somebody else to do it. They basically would have to do like pro bono or for free. Like who's going to do that? So in a lot, I don't know. I don't think this is going to bode well for the community, and it also depends on how hard they actually enforce this. But the other issue is the fact that they may not enforce it. They may just have the rules there in case they have to. But knowing that those rules are set in a way that gives them the complete control. I mean, if I was a creator and artist in that sense, I would be like, I'm not even going to touch it. I don't even want to risk it. So I'm just not even going to mess with it. And I think that's more what these are going to do rather than them going out and enforcing it. I think it's just more the idea that it's even out there is going to be like, they're just going to, you're going to have artists that are like, no, I'm not even going to touch it. So, all right, well, let's jump in to this new, intellectual properties. So, yeah. So we have your intellectual property guidelines. Games Workshop has been designing and selling miniatures and games for over 40 years. Our design studios have worked hard to create unique settings and characters that are enjoyed by our fans all over the world. We love to see fans enjoying all things Warhammer. We all have a duty to preserve and protect our intellectual property rights. This is the only way we can ensure that Warhammer will be around forever. Now, that statement right there, I'm going to have to disagree with, because other franchises, Star Wars, Star Trek, Halo, I'm trying to think of other ones like Ghostbusters, they all protect their intellectual property, but also allow fans to make creations. The biggest thing in all those is you just can't make money off of it. That's kind of been the go-to thing always, is you can't make money off their intellectual property. However, you can create works of fan fiction, fan art, fan animations. You know, see a lot of that. I know on the Star Wars side for sure. There's definitely fan films on Star Trek. Halo's definitely been on the uptick lately with the new game coming. But yeah, so those franchises don't seem to be quitting anytime soon, right? They definitely seem to be all strong and healthy. And yeah, I don't necessarily know if that's, I can't, this is, that's 100% true. But yeah, we'll get into like with the part that I do 100% agree with here coming up is definitely with like the 3D printing and recasting. Like that I get directly affects their business, but like all these other things that they've never really, I mean, they've had books for a long time, but like the animations and that kind of stuff, and letting other people design artwork, I just don't know how that it doesn't help promote their business. And in a lot of ways, it's free promotion because these people are making amazing stuff. But anyway, our goal is to do this while continuing to support the passion and creativities of our fans. We'll level with you. This is a difficult balancing act. So there they try to kind of like cop out, in my opinion, where they're going to continue to support the passion and creativity of our fans. And while they're saying, yeah, that is a difficult balancing act, but later on with what they say, like, I don't know how they are going to be able to support any of fan creativity if this is the way they're going about it. And again, they may not be enforcing these like super hardcore or anything, but it's still just like a huge deterrent to anybody that may want to work on something or do anything. And especially, like I said, right now, like for somebody that wants to commission a particular person to work on something for them, like, yeah. And you know, one of the biggest Warhammer channels out there right now, Chapter Master Valric, he commented on this in his video, that he had basically a few projects, like an audio animation thing that he did, and then some sort of a game mod that he's gonna have to shelf now, just to be safe, essentially. And that sucks. You know that people are doing self-censorship now. Like they're doing the work for Games Workshop for the fear that they may have to face some legal financial issue later. All right, so whatever exciting Warhammer hobby activities you're working on, we ask that you follow the below guidelines at all times. By doing so, we all continue to enjoy all things Warhammer for a long time to come. All right, so here we go. These guidelines do not constitute formal approval or authorization for any fan content or a waiver of our legal rights. We reserve the right to challenge these guidelines at any time. So again, key thing, like what I'm saying, this, like if you follow these guidelines, that doesn't mean that they're not going to try to enforce anything on you, that they still can challenge, or it says, well, I guess reserved right to change these guidelines. So they can still change these guidelines at any time. So like, while this may be the go-to now, and I wish we kind of would have got a warning that they were changing the guidelines, because it would have been nice, and I'm sure this is part of why they did it, but it'd be nice to see, to have like a comparison, like what was it like before to what is it like now? You know, how much have they tightened it down? Because to be honest, I really haven't like looked at these like in a long time, so I couldn't tell you exactly what may or may not have changed. But they're basically saying that at any time they can change these, so they can make it more restrictive if suddenly they don't agree with something somebody's doing. So fan fiction, hobby books, and magazines. Individuals may write their own stories, hobby books, and magazines based on characters and settings, but there must not include text, artwork, or imagery copied from any official Games Workshop material. So again, this is where it kind of gets in that gray area, because like if I make my own codex supplement kind of a thing and I want to put the same stat lines for the models, because there's nothing changing the stat lines, most of the supplement would be filled with my own custom chapter lore and history and that kind of stuff. But then when it comes down to the basic units, everything is what it is. Well, it sounds like you can only really make like a lore book, apparently. You can't do the rest. So yeah. But does say be non-commercial with no money being received or paid. This includes all forms of fundraising activity and generation of any advertising revenue. So you can't even try to host some sort of a fundraiser event where you're not personally taking the money, but you're making money for a charity. So that's interesting. Not be publicly distributed except for no charge digital distribution. So I'm really sure. So you can distribute your fan fiction or your fan stories or whatever, fan supplements, with no charge digitally, but it doesn't say anything about like actual hard copies. So make it clear that they are unofficial without using any Games Workshop logos, and include the word unofficial prominently on the front cover. Not be prejudicial to goodwill, reputation, or integrity of Games Workshop or its intellectual property. So these are very vague, very out there. So again, so you can't use any Games Workshop logos. So I've seen a lot of great fan supplements and codex that I mean, straight up say like have like the Games Workshop Warhammer 40,000 logo, but then have like their own stuff. But you can't even use that. You couldn't even use that and then have like a stamp kind of looking thing over it that says unofficial or something like that. As kind of like a funny like, it's not, whatever. It's not official. But so like you can't even use that. So it's almost like, why do you even need to write unofficial anywhere on it? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have the Games Workshop logos on there, who's going to even know what it is? So, all right. So, yeah, so that kind of goes into there. Fan artwork. Individuals may create their own artwork, drawings, and designs based on our characters and settings, but these must not include artwork or imagery copied from any Games Workshop material, official Games Workshop material. So again, the models are Games Workshop material, right? So if I take a model and I paint it any way I want, and then I have somebody make a piece of art based on that model, like, is that considered copied Games Workshop material or not? I don't know. That could be really splitting hairs, but at the same time, that does open up a window where somebody could interpret it that way. Like, I mean, the fact that I threw that out there is proof enough that you can take that and be like, well, it is Games Workshop material, and you are basing it off of that. This battle scene behind me, like, yeah, it's not an exact copy of a battle scene that you would have seen, but at the same time, like, we've all seen similar kind of battle scenes. So could they say that as well? Yeah. Be non-commercial with no money being received or paid. These include all forms of fundraising and generation of any advertising revenue. So same thing at the end there, but again, be non-commercial, no money received or paid. So that right there is like, you can't charge people for commission artwork. That's how I read it. I mean, there's nothing else to that other than that. Not be publicly distributed except no charge digital again. So you can't go and print things out and sell posters anywhere. It has to be all no charge digital. Make it clear again that they're unofficial without using any of the logos. So again, like some of the logos and stuff used for different chapters and things like that, if anybody was to make artwork, You could argue that. And then again, not be prejudicial to the goodwill, reputation, or integrity Games Workshop. All right. Fan sites. Individuals may create their own fan sites based on character settings, but these must not include artwork, imagery, footage, or animation copied from any Games Workshop material. So you can have a plain text website with nothing on it that any way indicates that you have a Games Workshop based fan site. Make it clear it's unofficial. Not post or display rules or stats copied from any official Games Workshop material. And again, not be prejudicial goodwill, reputation, integrity of Games Workshop and its intellectual property. Underlying rights. Please be aware that where fan content is created based on our settings and characters, Games Workshop retains ownership in respect to the underlying intellectual property rights in those worlds, and therefore such fan content cannot be sold or otherwise monetized. So they're basically saying, so that kind of right there is like, that's the catch-all. Like underlying, again, like I said, with like the artwork being based on some material, right? Well, the underlying content of that, right, is the underlying intellectual property. So that right there is basically saying, at the end of the day, anything at all based on our stuff belongs to us as far as we can control what happens to it. So again, like I totally understand and I get people and companies wanting to protect their IP. I don't disagree with that, but there, like again, like I said, there are great examples of other franchises out there that have done it and allowed great like birth to their fans. I've tried looking up and I can't. Like I said, I mentioned this in my other video. There was like a Star Wars. I know there was one for Star Wars, and there was definitely one for Halo. That it was like a disclaimer that you just had, like if you made like a fan film or something like that, you just had to put this disclaimer in front saying like this is in no way associated with like Star Wars, Lucasfilm, or Bungie, Halo, Microsoft Studios, like that kind of stuff, and is made for nonprofit reasons, such like that. I can't find them now though. I've been looking, but anyway, I mean that to me would be like super simple. Like just have some kind of disclaimer that somebody can put in front of their stuff like that, and allow them to just keep going. Yeah. So all right. So now we got to the infringements, and this is the kind of the big one. We have a zero tolerance policy in respect of infringement of our intellectual property rights. This includes counterfeit models. Our products must not be reproduced or sold. 100% agree. 100%. Imitation models. Our products must not be limited or imitated. Imitators produce models which copies heavily from Games Workshop artwork, books, or products. That one is a gray area for sure. I get it to some extent, but sci-fi is sci-fi, and a lot of things kind of overlap. The other thing with that is people that make third-party bits. And this is something that definitely has affected me because I have a lot of third-party bits and a lot of my stuff to help with customization, just make things cool or make different kind of themed armies and such. And now Games Workshop is saying, like, if you do that, if you get third-party bits, you can't bring it to any of our Games Workshop official events. Now, they don't have a ton of them right now in the States. There's a few now just recently popping up since they took Mike Brandt from the Nova to run their events and stuff, which is kind of another prime example of, I mean, it's not bad that Games Workshop is going out and finding all this talent, but they definitely are going out and they're headhunting a lot of people and I guess gatekeeping the hobby in a lot of different ways. Especially with this is the part where this whole fan creation thing has really got me in a it's got me in a sore spot because there's just so much great stuff out there, and I don't think that they should kind of like have to be under the heel of Games Workshop in order to do their stuff. But like I said, counterfeit models make sense. Imitation models, to some extent, I agree with, but at the same time, like getting custom shoulder pads for your army, shouldn't be an issue. Like that shouldn't be a problem. But Recasting and 3D printing, again, same thing as like counterfeit models. Our products must not be illegally recast or scanned, nor should digital designs of our products be illegally produced and distributed. 100% agree. Illegal downloads. Our publications, audiobooks, and other materials protected by copyright must not be illegally uploaded, shared, or distributed in any format. Okay, agree again. Unauthorized use of our trademarks. Unauthorized use of registration of our trademarks in respect to similar products or services is not permitted. I mean, I personally, I haven't really seen any issues of that, but maybe there are. So again, no big issue. All right. So fan films and animations. Individuals must not create fan films or animations based on our settings for characters. These are only to be created under the license of Games Workshop. I think I think everyone already knows where I stand on that one. I wholeheartedly 1,010 million times infinity disagree. Games and apps, individuals will not create computer games or apps based on our characters and settings. These can only be created under the license Games Workshop. So again, this one again, I agree, but also disagree. Like I think if someone came with a full-on game and was like, boom, this is Warhammer or Warhammer adjacent, like it can get, especially with Warhammer adjacent, like that can get really kind of cloudy because again, sci-fi is sci-fi. Like you can create stuff as different as you want, but at the end of the day, everyone will always make like comparison, like, oh, this is like that, or this is the same. But the thing here that I kind of disagree with, I think is a gray area, is mods. Like you'll see a lot of different kind of mods in different games where you can like all of a sudden you're run around in like Fallout as a Space Marine or whatever game it might be. And it sounds like that's a no-go. Like they're putting a stop to that. But yeah, so back up to the fan films and animations, like that right there. I'm curious to know what's going to happen. Especially, I think it was it Actually Nothing was the channel that he turned down the deal or the deal that he was offered from Games Workshop and was told that he needs to demonetize all their stuff. But is that actually what's going to happen? Because now it's like, now with this out, this is saying, um, it seems like they may be able to just shut them down altogether. Because it's saying individuals must not create fan films or animations based on our settings or characters. So I think we're not going to see these anymore. These are all going to be gone. Obviously, people still will save and upload and re-upload, but we're not going to see any new stuff. And that's, I don't know, it's disheartening and sad to see that. I feel like they've shot themselves in the foot and they're doing more harm than good, and they're killing the community. I don't know. And then this, the one above it, unauthorized use of our trademarks. So Valrock mentioned this in his video, that he's actually worried about this one because of using the name Chapter Master and picture of a Space Marine Chapter Master as his stuff. And that again goes to like the whole idea of the underlying artwork being based on that. So again, like, and I like with him in particular, I don't think he'll have anything to worry about, at least initially, because he's such a huge channel. But those of us that are on the lower end, like I could even potentially see like myself getting contacted again, because while the Paint Marine is not anything official in within like the Games Workshop realm, you could argue that the underlying, basis of it is. I also, my logo that I currently use on like for like my little picture face on the YouTube and the Facebook page for the Paint Marine, was artwork that I commissioned to be done by the artist who does the Adepticon artwork just about every year that it's been going on. And he drew up that logo for me and tried to make it 40K and like Space Marine-esque, but different enough that maybe it's just kind of a sci-fi looking knight kind of thing. And we tried to we really kind of toyed around with it for a while to try to make something that was suggestive of it, but different at the same time. But like I said, you could always come back and be like, well, that's still underlying um, our IP. And again, with all the artwork I've had commissioned now, while I haven't made that artwork, all those great artists that have worked on stuff for me, and others, they may stop. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go down, because a lot of them too, that's a good majority, I would say, of their artwork and commissions is people getting, their own personal 40K stuff done. And, where does this leave them all now? Um, some of them, they've built up a good enough portfolio and they can continue making other, art for other things that have franchises that will actually not go after them for creating fan art. But this just leaves such a wide open door for them to come in and just say no more. So, all right, well, I guess I will leave that for now. This has probably been pretty long of a rant. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are below. Do you think this is going to help, hurt in the short term, in the long term? Do you think they're going to backpedal on this, or do you think they're going to double down? Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of things throughout the years since I've gotten into the hobby that I definitely disagreed with, and I would say more things than that, though, I've agreed with and been very happy with what's been going on. There has been a few choices as of late that I'm really questioning why they're doing it. And I get, well, to some extent, I don't really question why they're doing it. Of course, they're doing it to make money and to control the narrative of their corporation, their company, whatever, to then further give that positive outlook to continue to make money and profits. Because you don't want a bunch of people out there bashing and negative things getting out, because that's going to hurt your brand, and then people are not going to want to come there. But they're already, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're the juggernaut of the tabletop community right now. I mean, who else can even touch them on the quality of the models, the games, and stuff like that? And they're using that position, that essential. They don't have a monopolization on the tabletop community, but there's such a large portion of it, you might as well say that they've monopolized it, to the extent where the rules books, which can be made for such a fraction of a cost of what they're sold at, is where I would say probably a good majority of their money is getting made, because it's so much easier to print books and new rules, which then also changes things to push models off of shelves that maybe weren't selling as well. And we see that it's just everyone calls it the codex creep, the supplement creep. You got to have 5 books to play because you want to have all the best rules, and you can't use those rules unless you own the book. So you may be buying a $40, $50, $60 book to get one special rule out of it. That's printing your own money 100%. So, and I can't fault them, but I get it. Yeah, it works. You're a business. At the end of the day, I get it. Profits matter. But now with this new animation thing, I feel like they're trying to go out because they're really trying to push. They've really put a lot in their basket, or kind of the chickens before they hatch kind of thing, with this Warhammer Plus. I think that's where a lot of this is coming from, because they've gone out, they've already spent, I guess I can't imagine how much money they've already spent on the animators they had beforehand. And now they've gone out and they've just been mass pulling in all these people off of these other platforms to bring them under the fold. If you have 100 different animators, how are you going to be able to pay them all a reasonable wage or a living wage for them to be able to stick with you? And then again, I'm sure these contracts aren't even they're probably for not indefinitely or open-ended. I would assume that they're hiring them on contract years, so a couple years, a year, however long. But I don't think these are just kind of open-ended contracts. I think they're definitely we'd like to hire you on for a year, we'd like to hire you on for 2, or however long that is. So it essentially it gets their creations off of the wide internet, gets it on their platform, and then once the contract ends, there's no incentive really, for the most part, to renew a contract because they already own all their other content. And now with these new guidelines, that creator can't make any more 40K content once they leave. So they could also use that potentially, like the pay and benefits may not get better, and the new contract might not offer any like pay bumps or new other benefits and stuff, but it may be a way to kind of essentially bully somebody in renewing a contract with Games Workshop, because the uncertainty of not having a job may outweigh the idea of just like, well, I might as well just stay here because at least I know I'm getting a paycheck. That's all kind of up in the air conjecture kind of stuff, but those are tactics that are used within the corporate world to essentially get people to work for various corporations for less than what they should be. And it's not right, but it happens, and I have no idea if that's the case here. But again, it's another one of those kind of like, it really leaves the door wide open for Games Workshop to abuse that power. And if history in the world has taught anybody anything, it's that if you give anybody the free reign to abuse their power, they're going to. It's just, yeah. So, all right. Well, again, I started ranting again. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like, and leave your comments below. What are your thoughts? I would greatly also appreciate if you checked out the Facebook and my Instagram. You can find those linked in the description below. And until next time.